Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really close look at a critical moment for democracy, specifically in Somalia.
That's right.
We're going to unpack this central tension, the visible shift towards a citizen-driven democracy kind of bumping up against some really persistent underlying structural issues.
It's a fascinating, really complex situation. And to help us navigate this, we're leaning quite a bit on the insights of legal expert Abdullahi Yabaro.
Yeah, that row, right.
He poses this powerful, almost prophetic question. What is happening? And he gives us this stark metaphor, saying Somalia's new democracy is like a new horse already hobbled before the race begins.
Hobbled before the race begins. Wow, that's an incredibly vivid image.
Yep.
What exactly does Yabaro mean by that? Like, what's the core contradiction he's pointing to?
Well, he's getting at how powerful elites can embrace the image of reform, look like they're on board.
Right.
Yet actively resist its real, tangible consequences. Kind of illustrates this common paradox you see in new democracies.
We're the champions of reform on paper.
Exactly. They become its biggest obstructionists when it actually threatens their established power. And, well, what that means for the people of Somalia is profound. Really profound.
Right. Okay, so let's start by looking at what's been happening on the ground. Because on paper, there's actually quite a lot to be optimistic about, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Somalia's democratic transition shows real signs of progress. You're seeing an expansion of voter registration, which is huge.
Yeah.
There are significant strides in constitutional reforms and, importantly, a growing public awareness of what democracy could really mean for them.
And the Constitution itself introduced some big changes.
Massive ones. You've got broad democratic reforms like one person, one vote. I mean, that's a monumental shift.
Towards every citizen having an equal say.
Precisely. Moving away from older, often clan-based selection methods. Plus, federal representation, separation of powers, judicial independence. These are truly foundational steps.
It sounds like, well, an ideal vision of progress on paper. But then you think about Abdullahi Yabaro's question, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it kind of stops you cold. Because as you said, his question wasn't just rhetorical, it was like anticipatory. He saw this coming.
He did.
So despite all that legislative progress you just laid out, powerful political elites are mobilizing right now to reverse that momentum.
Yeah.
What's their specific target? What are they going after?
They're trying to abolish the provision that grants the public the right to directly elect the president. That specific right. That is the hobbling of the horse he warned us about. Undermining the very essence of citizen-driven democracy right at the outset.
It almost sounds like a recurring play. Like,
Yeah.
We've seen this movie before. What's the pattern here?
What's fascinating, and maybe a little depressing, is how this plays into a recurring pattern of political recycling in Somalia.
Political recycling.
Yeah. Every 4 years, almost like clockwork, you see former presidents, ex-prime ministers, retired members of parliament, they all suddenly reappear.
And this happens around the end of the presidential term.
Typically coincides with the final year, yes. And this often triggers, well, unnecessary political instability. It stirs things up.
Okay, so if this is the playbook, this recycling, what's their current agenda? What are they trying to achieve this time?
Their goal is incredibly clear, actually. It's to remove the people's right to elect the president directly.
Just take it away.
And restore the old system, where Parliament basically handpicked the president.
And that old system, remind us about that.
Well, we know that old system was pretty notorious for foreign deals, money influencing outcomes, lots of behind-the-scenes arrangements, not very transparent.
So their opposition, it seems, isn't really to the Constitution itself, maybe, but to something more fundamental. What's at the core of their fear?
That's the crux of it, isn't it? I mean, Yabaro points this out. Their core fear seems to be a free vote because they can't buy it, control it, or dominate it.
So it's not about principles, it's about control.
It reveals that their opposition isn't really to the Constitution or even just general reform, but directly to the idea of the people actually deciding who leads them.
So, okay, why? Why is the right for citizens to choose the president by direct vote the most fiercely challenged of all the democratic reforms? Why that one specifically?
It's a great question, and it's because it fundamentally shifts power away from them. Abdullahi Yabaro gave this historic warning that rings incredibly true when you connect it to the bigger picture. He said, what we've seen over the past 20 years is that when the president is chosen by parliament, corruption and kleptocracy follow almost immediately.
Almost immediately. Wow.
Yeah. He argues this system inherently breeds corruption because the process itself becomes a kind of Market.
A market for votes?
Votes are openly sold, foreign actors gain undue influence.